What's up, everyone? Oh, we're gonna have fun today because this is like one of my favorite topics. Anytime I talk about Nirvana, it's one of my favorite topics. I did a video with my accountant Alan about a year ago at NAMM, and we were talking about. He and I talk about Nirvana all the time, and that's one band he doesn't understand. And I was like, Alan, what's there not to understand? Kurt Cobain and Nirvana had the greatest melodies ever. And I'm going to explain to you guys right now why Kurt Cobain was a genius, which I've done many times on my channel, but I haven't talked about Kurt Cobain in about 3 years now. I gave you guys a break for all your new 2 million extra subscribers that since the last Nirvana video I did. I'm going to talk about Kurt's melody writing because I never get sick of talking about this. The sale for this week, since I don't do ads, is my Beato Ultimate Bundle. This is a new version of it. It has 4 courses in it. My Beato Book Interactive Music Theory course, my ear training course, the Beato ear training, my scale matrix, which is my latest course, which shows you scales all over the fingerboard, and my Arpeggio Masterclass. This is a great bundle. $89. It's a big savings. It helps you become a better musician by learning how to play all over the guitar, by developing your ear, by learning music theory. And we're going to talk about the music theory of this because I have a chart that I already wrote for today's thing, and which I'll hold up in a second. But I'm going to actually tear it out of my book, so it's maybe I'll leave it in the book here. Okay, so this particular song, I think it's a great example of a song that doesn't reveal its key for a minute. And it's a really interesting song to talk about because it uses a lot of borrowed chords. And we talk about borrowed chords in my Beato Book Interactive. Borrowed chords are chords from, a lot of times they're borrowed from their relative major or minor, depending on what key it is in. I'm going to talk about this song as if it's in the tuning a half step lower, because Kurt tunes his guitar down to E flat. I'm just going to pretend it's I'm just going to pretend that it's in the key of E major, so when you see it. When you see that I am talking on the first chord, which is A flat or G sharp, however you want to look at it, we can call it G sharp. I called it A flat because that's the first thing that I wrote down. I should probably call it G sharp here. I'm gonna change my chart. I'm gonna just put in parentheses G sharp 5. Okay, I'm gonna do it here too. G sharp 5. Okay. Here's my chart again. So I'm going to show you the chart here. Let me see if I can get it in my frame here. This is the song Frances Farmer Will Have Her Revenge on Seattle off In Utero, which came out in 1993. Whoops. So the first chord, I have a lot of power chords. That's pretty much what he's playing, but they are only power chords in the guitar. But the implication in his melodies, he describes the chords. This is a very common thing for him to do by the melody note, because a lot of times in the chorus of this song, he sings the third of the chords, yet he plays power chords. So let's talk about it. Let me play from the beginning. Let me just talk about the intro here. I don't mean to stop it, but it starts out. Right there is already weird, okay? So he starts on this G sharp power chord. E power chord, but then it goes to G natural. The reason I called it A flat at first is because so you could see that you have A flat and G. So it's G sharp, E, G, E, G. Then it goes to B, which is really to me the key that it's in. It's in a I'm gonna analyze it as if it's in B major, because that's where it ultimately ends up at the end of this first phrase. Now listen to the verse melody.
Yes, I'm relieving, now that you're leaving, soon as you get paid. Yes, I'm relaxing, hear that you're resting, never you're dancing. Yes, I'm soothing, now that you soothe me, soon as it's
Okay, so this is what's fascinating about it. So he starts out, he's singing the fifth of this A flat chord or G sharp chord. Let's say this is G sharp minor. If we're thinking of the key, if it's in the key of B, that would be the 6 minor chord. Then he goes to the major 7th on E. Sounds like an E major 7. Major 7 to the 5th, and then he goes to on the G chord, to the 5th of G. Then he's going flat 7 to the 5th of E. Okay, so the implications here are that it's like it's as if, I'm going to do this here just so you can see it again this way. It's as if he's going from, we'll say G sharp minor, although it also sounds kind of like G sharp major because the chord is not really described. Then it's like E major 7, because of the melody note is the major 7th. He's got the 5th in the melody here. Then he goes major 7th. Major 7th to the 5th of the chord, but it goes to G there. Da, da. Then the next time it goes like it's an E7. Da, 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 da. E7 to G major. Okay? So this is some really interesting way that he's borrowing things from other keys already. So do 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 do. Do 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 do. And then I only have 3 notes. Then he goes to this. Then he goes to B here. Do 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 do. But on that B chord, he's singing the minor 3rd because it's like a blue note, right? So it's so relieving. I know what you're leaving. Know that you it's so relieving to know that you're leaving as soon as you get paid. So it's like a blues note. This is why Kurt Cobain's melodies are impossible to copy. They really can't be copied. He's the only person that writes these kind of melodies to me is John Lennon. Literally, John Lennon, Kurt Cobain channeled John Lennon's melody writing, because that's the only writer that I've ever analyzed that had all these unconventional things that they did, and it was always incredibly melodic. Okay, so if we were to analyze this song then, this is where it's tough, because this one chord, you could say this is the 6 minor, then this is the this would be the E major, of course, is the 4 chord, but the G is the would be the flat 6 chord. It's hard to write like this. It looks very confusing. To the 4, to the flat 6, to the 1. Okay? That's the verse part here. And then he does one little melody change on the 3rd phrase. He goes, da-da-da-do-do. So it's like it's like that, the 9th to the 5th of the E chord, and then so he's got those notes in the melody are the notes. It's like a blues melody, right? The whole thing is his kind of weird way that he does blues in these melodies, right? But then the chorus brings it home here. Listen. Then here. Then you get the full chords. Okay, let's do this before we get to the tagline. Now he adds all the thirds in the chords and really describes them. So we've got so if you think of this, if you're in the key of B, this would be 2, 4, flat 3, right? So these chords, like the flat 6 and that the D major and G major, are kind of borrowed from the would be borrowed from the minor key, from B minor, okay? So these are borrowed from the parallel minor. So, perfectly describes the chords. The thing is that you can use that chromatic harmony there. So melodic, oh my God. But then the last time, check this out. This time. Right here. Okay, when he goes to the F sharp at the end of that end of the chorus, that's where it says to me, this is in B major, right? And these are just all borrowed chords in there. So he goes at the brilliance of the last part, the tag of the chorus, the last time through. I miss the comfort in being sad. So you got that B major, then he goes to A sus. That's the flat 7 sus 4. And once again, just like the verse, it's blues, but he disguises it with the most brilliant chord progressions. Okay, so the 2 times through, the first 2 times of the chorus, so it's like C sharp minor, then E, D, B, 2 times. Why is Mike texting me here? Mike, you're texting me about something? Mike likes it. Okay, good. Okay. I miss the comfort in being sad. So he's got the third in the melody here, third in the melody, third in the melody, third in the melody, right? Does that 2 times? So this is like the two minor chord to the 4 chord to the flat 3 major to the 1. Okay? The last time, let's see. I see a message here. This music is my language, but your language is not my language. How do I go from a lifelong tabber to this? Genuine. Let's see. Okay, genuine. Let's see. Gwyn Plains Games. Gwyn Plains Games? That's the name of the person. At Gwyn Plains. I can't even say that. Gwyn Plains Games. How do you go from a lifelong tabber to this? I love that, lifelong tabber. I'll talk about that in 1 second. Let me come back to that for a second. So let me just finish writing these last couple bars here, and then I'm going to answer that. C sharp minor, the last time. Do 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 do. B to A sus4. Do. Then back to B. B, A sus4. G, 2, 3, 4. F sharp. Do 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 do. That's the end of the chorus. So this is a chorus here. This is the verse. Okay. This here, right? So you got 1. So once again, 6, 4, flat 3, 1, flat 7. Ooh, God, that's amazing. 1, flat 7, whoops, 7. Then you go to the flat 6 major here, G, flat 6, down to the 5. And that's the key right there, that 5 to 1. But it actually doesn't go to 1, it goes 5 to 6. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to answer Gwyn Plains Games' question here. Music is not my language, but your language is not my language. Music is your language, but music is not my language. How do I go from a lifelong tabber to this? Okay, so I think what you mean is how do you go from learning how to play or playing things from tabs to figuring it out by ear? Maybe that's the question. Or how do you go to learning how to write melodies like this? Because these are kind of related. One of the things is actually understanding how chords are built. He did all this naturally without theories, somebody says in here. Yes and no. If he knew what notes sound good over the chords, and he follows the same principles in all his songwriting. So does he not know theory? Because I learned, I didn't know what things were called, but I could figure out what they were by ear. So these are, then it's all of it is just learning what the names of things are, right? Like learning what the like knowing that this note. Okay, knowing those are the thirds of the chords. Now, because I learned what notes are in the chords, the chord structures, these are all triads, right? So you've got on this first chord, C sharp minor. Those are the 3 notes of the chord: C sharp E, C sharp E, G sharp. 1 3 5, 1 3 5. Those. Knowing what notes are in the chords is very crucial. If I said to you, okay, write a melody using the third in every chord, write a 4-chord chorus and use the third in the melody on each one. Well, you'd have to know what the third is. And to know that, you've got to know some music theory. You have to at least know your arpeggios. Okay, here's my plug. One of the reasons that I do scales and arpeggios in my courses, along with my theory courses, right? So my bundle I'm selling this week has the music theory, my 500-page PDF video course with lectures and whiteboard lectures. Then it has the ear training, so it's like, okay, well, you got to be able to figure out the stuff by ear and know what it's called, right? So the theory and the ear training are together, and how to analyze it. But then it's like, okay, well, how do I put it into practical application on your instruments, right? This is where the scales, the scale degrees, because we call these things by scale degree. When I say 1, 3, 5, why do I say that? Because it's like the first note of the scale, the third note of the scale, fourth note, fifth note of the scale, 1, 3, 5. So C sharp minor, I'm literally, the 1, 3, 5 is the first note of the scale, the third note of the scale, and the fifth note of the scale. That's why they call these. You will find that songs that use, that are really heavily root oriented are very boring. That's why it's always bad to sing the bass line. You never want to double the bass line. There's really no good songs, or almost no good songs that just double the bass line. And people that say, well, Kurt didn't know any of that stuff. Baloney that Kurt didn't know any of that stuff. Of course he knew it. Why would he stick to all these principles in his songwriting? Of course he knew that stuff. So people that say that he didn't know it, it doesn't matter whether you know it actively or you know it instinctually, because you ultimately end up in the same place. He grew up with this stuff. He figured out, I bet he knew 1,000 songs. I bet he knew every Beatles song. And his ear was phenomenal, incredibly good. The guy had amazingly good sense of melody. And all this chromaticism, I mean, it's right there in the beginning. Like, why did he go from? We have that. We have all those little half step things. You have C sharp and D, right? Sorry. And why did he didn't go? He didn't sing the third on that. He went. This is absolutely perfect writing, note for note. He knew it instinctually. People, okay, somebody in here is saying that Paul McCartney, these guys were experts on their instruments. This is the thing, is that McCartney, Lennon, George Harrison, Ringo, these people were experts at their instruments. Try to play Lady Madonna on the piano. Try to play some of these McCartney piano things. These guys were you know, they were as sophisticated of players as the best virtuosos, but their virtuosity was in their melody writing and their lyric writing, right? Because there's different types of virtuosity. And knowing the theory of this stuff is so important. This is the thing that's lost, is that I say that even the best melody writers out today, Max Martin, Shellback, Ryan Tedder, some of the people that I've interviewed on my channel that are great melody writers that can write perfect pop melodies. The one person that they can't emulate, or the people they can't emulate, are John Lennon, Kurt Cobain, Paul McCartney. It's very hard to emulate them. Very difficult to emulate them. Pretty much impossible. Especially Kurt, John Lennon. They're just about impossible to emulate, because these Nirvana songs have very weird chord progressions. They just do. Every time I analyze a Nirvana, I can go down every single song on the first three records. I can go on every song on Bleach, every song on Nevermind, every song on In Utero, Incesticide, all those records. I can go through every single song, and he follows the same principles, but they're so sophisticated. If you think about really forever indebted to your priceless advice. Hey, wait, I got a new complaint. Da, da. Those weird interval jumps and everything, all of it is brilliant. Right? And all these borrowing chords from major and minor. I have a section on borrowed chords in my Beato Book Interactive that talks about how you use these chords, and you can make your songs way more interesting by borrowing chords like that. And not just falling into the same old ruts of 1, 4, 5, and 6. That's so boring. That is so boring. I'll tell you a weird thing. I don't have perfect pitch, but if I play songs that are not in the original keys, it really bothers me. I don't know why. It just bothers me. That's why I tuned down for this. That's just a complete aside, but they literally do not sound right. I can't even hear them when I'm playing a guitar that's not. If I was playing this in standard pitch, it would not. It sounds wrong to me. I don't know why. Very strange. Always did. There's a myth that knowing music theory hurts your creativity. I'm reading comments from the comment section here. That is a myth. It's like basically like saying, well, do you know how to use a word in a sentence? You know, I mean, that's pretty much what this is. But music theory is just the name of things. What do you call things? How do you refer to something to tell, like if you want to tell somebody how to play a song and you're like, oh yeah, it's like 6. If somebody said to me, somebody's like 6, and then like as soon as I know, if I go 6, 4, flat 6, 4, flat 6, 1, I know exactly. Is that really a lot of theory to know, like what the notes are? No. People do this in Nashville all the time. Everybody in Nashville knows all this stuff. This is just like basic music theory. What the relationship of the chords that you're playing are to the key of the song, period. And it's literally just the intervals, like the note in relation to the tonic note. So if you're in the key of B and I have this note, G sharp, that's the 6th note of the scale. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the 4th note of the scale. That's why you call it the 4th chord. This is the flat 6th note in the scale. That's why we call that a flat 6 major chord, because it's not in the key. Okay? So these are, knowing what these things are called is important because it will help you, A, to figure things out, B, to communicate with other musicians because you can learn how to jam on things. And you know what things are called if you're playing, if you're improvising on something, knowing, what's the chord progression I'm improvising on. Okay, let's see. We have a question here. Question is, I know tons of theories. I've been studying it for years, probably way more than someone like Kurt Cobain, yet can't seem to apply it. Any advice, please? Mitchell, my advice is you should get my 4 courses if you haven't gotten them. The Beato Ultimate Bundle. Mike just put it there in the chat. 4 courses for $89. It's my Beato Book Interactive. Let me see, what is it here? It's my Beato Book Interactive theory course. 500 plus pages of interactive music theory. My ear training course, which has hundreds of modules that will help you learn how to learn things by ear using relative pitch. My scale matrix, which is my latest course, which has 25 different scales and modes mapped out across the entire fretboard. How do you cover these across the fingerboard? And same with the Arpeggio Masterclass, shows you how to learn your arpeggios over, so you can learn where the notes in each chord are by using your instrument. Mateus, would you argue if someone were to want to emulate Nirvana, they'd benefit from listening to the influences of Nirvana versus solely Nirvana for perspective? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Kurt always talked about John Lennon, talked about the Beatles, talked about John Lennon. And that's what I hear. When I hear Kurt Cobain, I hear John Lennon. I hear John Lennon writing. I just do. It's so clear because there is no other person that writes those weirdo melodies. I did the you can say the Pixies and stuff, and but the I think more like song structure and arrangement wise than the actual melodies, right? So when I hear like I did I'm gonna have to, I'll play it in this key even though this is gonna bug me here because it doesn't sound right. I'm here. See how they run like pigs from a country highway. So that's I'm the Walrus. Right, you got A major. Then you have A major over G. Those are completely weird melodies. And then that's C major, right? But he's going on that D chord. Those notes are so dissonant if you just isolate them, but they're he is just, it's pure melody writing. It's just targeting those beautiful those really strong notes of the chord. That's kind of what Kurt's doing in this song. He's doing the very similar things. Those notes, those dissonant notes that are next to each other like that, those are what makes the melodies interesting, right? That's why when I hear this stuff, I'm just like, John Lennon. That's why I have all these John Lennon pictures over here. You guys see my John Lennon stuff back here? There's one right there. Little John Lennon drawing there. And I have my Beatles painting. You know that's a painting? Somebody made me this painting right here. The Abbey Road paint. That's a painting. That's not a picture. Right there. That is a painting that someone sent me from England. And then I have my John Lennon painting over here also. And there's so many other Nirvana songs. I'm just going to do a whole Nirvana. I could do a whole Nirvana course. I tell you what got when I was teaching at Ithaca College before I stopped. When Nevermind came out, I've told this story before, but I remember I was teaching a lecture, and before the students came in, I wrote the melody of "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on the board. They didn't know what it was. And I said, does anybody know what this song is? It was 1991. It just came out. And I said, anybody know this song? Nobody in there. And I was like, this is Nirvana's new single. Anyone heard it? And they're like, oh, yeah, it's amazing. Well, this is the melody. We're going to analyze it today. Like, all right. And they were absolutely blown away because it's so sophisticated, the melody of Smells Like Teen Spirit. Incredibly brilliant. Incredibly brilliant. Anyways, okay, Beato Ultimate Bundle, $89. You want to learn about music theory and be able to contribute even more in the chat here by saying, hey, I totally get this. You know, when you watch these my song breakdowns, it's more fun if you actually know kind of what I'm talking about. You don't have to know everything, but knowing the chord function, stuff like that, knowing what the notes in all your major and minor chords are, it's important, and it's incredibly helpful for you as a musician. And it'll show you when you do something not only bad but something good too. If you're wondering, like, why does that sound good? Something you may have written yourself, right? And you can go back and maybe do it again, right? Figure out some of the things that you do yourself that sound good or that people think sound good, and you can analyze them and know how to do it in other songs. Copying your concepts, not copying your ideas like that. What would be the technique or formula Kurt used? Well, that's basically what I'm talking about here. This thing is the formula. It's a lot of formulas, right? There's a lot of borrowed chords and chord tone based melodies. That's the formula right there. The borrowed chords, so you're borrowing chords from other keys, so you don't have these diatonic chord progressions. And then you put the really strong notes, which gives you very chromatic melodies. So, anyways, go back, rewatch the stream again, and you can get it. You guys are amazing. Hope you're having a great weekend. We'll talk soon. Take care. Bye.